Hello, friends and fellow gamers, I am That Zero, and we are back to chat about some more Last Cloudia. And on today's menu, we have the first in a series that I've decided to call Surviving Arena. The goal is to make each one of these focus on one topic in particular so that hopefully I can keep it limited to 30 minutes or less. You can obviously check the timeline to see how well that worked out for me. I thought for a while on what type of information would be best to start with so that I could help the most amount of people possible, and I think the newer players that are coming in and kind of don't know what the hell's going on is probably what's going to hit the most. And there's a lot of different things that I could talk about. I mean, I could talk for hours on the different intricacies of Arena, which, if you'd like to talk more, feel free to sub to maybe catch one of my Arena streams and participate in those. Okay, so we have plug social, and I have a Discord too, so link in the description or whatever. On to the main topic of the episode, quick power spikes. Now, I consider a power spike to be, at least in the arena setting, a single thing that you can incorporate that will instantly elevate your odds of winning. These power spikes can come in many forms, so I'm going to break down some standout arcs, equipment, and skills that could be immediately impactful to you. As you race through the ranks, more of these will become more and more mandatory as more layers of arena become problematic and you're faced with more and more types of threats. If you're just getting into arena, you don't know what's good, you don't know what the meta is, or maybe you're just plain getting shat on and you don't quite understand why. Well, this should hopefully help you to identify what tools your account has available and what you should be using. First item on our list is going to be Arks. I'm going to assume all Arks are level 10. If you're not up to that point yet, you should probably work on them. Like I said in my ether farming video, I would focus on anything that uses red soul so that your blue ones can still be used towards fueling your soul spots. And most of the ones that I'm going to identify are generally going to be within that red soul archetype anyway. First up, we have Pirate Ship Legness. It gives you numerous buffs that you don't really care about since it's only on wave end, and you only get wave start effects in arena, so we're going to totally skip over that part. You have a little bit of a niche ability that says get a stat boost when a female party member dies. That's fine, so in the right team comp you might get a little bit of extra benefit. Situational, but hey, extra value is there. The real meat is the full party 10 seconds of flinch resist. If you do not have this and your opponent does, it will be difficult to win that fight, because it means their attacks will be able to interrupt yours. Skills will be the primary source of damage, and you don't want those animations to be cut short with an interruption from one of their skills or another attack of some sort. It doesn't matter what kind of strat you have going on, if your units are being locked up by abilities and flinched, it's going to be very, very hard to fight back. The first 10 seconds can really set the tone of an entire fight, so if you have the pirate ship, put it on anybody. It doesn't really matter, because all you want is that 10 seconds intro to give you the leg up in that fight. If you're searching for opponents and you see someone not using the pirate ship, fight them. They are at a significant disadvantage. So on a slightly related note, a decent honorable mention is the Aldana Coliseum. Now, this is only an SR, which means it's much more accessible. Probably everybody watching this video should have one by the time you get through campaign and have spent some of your gems on rolling. So it gives you a little bit of survivability by reducing damage from humans, but the big thing is that it grants flinch resistance for a certain time. Now, that is the same thing as what the pirate ship does, except instead of 10 seconds, it's only for this equipped unit, and it's for 40 seconds. Early on in Arena, odds are you won't have a full team completely maxed out, and you'll probably be relying on some big dick DPS that you have to hopefully carry you. Well, this is an easy option for you to equip to make sure that they are in being able to dish out damage, not get interrupted, and really have a leg up for the first 40 seconds of a fight. Abandoned City of the Sea. This arc does so many things, and it is absolutely top tier in PvP. Your carry, I told you, probably would want the Coliseum in the early game, but when you can get this thing up to 10, it is what you want. You put this on the biggest, baddest, beefiest DPS character you have, and go to Pound Town, okay? This arc makes you stronger when you're on low MP, so you get extra physical damage when you're low. Well, in Arena, you start with no MP, and then you slowly gain it every 6 seconds or so. It also makes you immune to strength down debuffs. I don't think that's super duper common, but it makes you strong and keeps you strong. Okay, fantastic. But here's the icing that really, really sets it off. Battle Start, which totally works for Arena, restore all SCT by 15 seconds. So For anybody that doesn't know, SCT is skill cooldown time. Actually, I don't really know if that's what it means, but I assume it does because it makes sense. Basically, the amount of time you would need to exist on the field for a particular amount of each skill's dial to be able to charge. So as I noted before, most of your damage is going to be coming from your physical damage dealers and specifically them using skills. You can imagine starting a fight with an S2 or an S3 already charged on the right unit could be devastating. You might just wipe a team or at least assassinate one unit that's the biggest threat on their team. It's absolutely huge. Maybe you could close the gap on a caster. You could nuke a wide range of enemies. So put it on your big dick carry or your assassin so they can just slap the shit out of your opponents. Cloudia the Great. So, the first little piece of restoring HP when items drop obviously doesn't matter because we're not dropping items in PvP. But it also increases the maximum HP of your party, meaning you're harder to kill. It's much harder for your opponents to get over the mountain and actually get one of those ticks off the box. And additionally, the big thing is that it's kind of a get out of jail free card. When your health becomes low for the first time, you're going to basically heal to full and then get a barrier, which is going to prevent damage on you up to a particular amount. So it helps you to survive and make it really, really hard for them to actually confirm a kill on you. So it's really great for just elevating that team survivability and then keeping somebody safe. Put this on somebody that's really integral to your strategy, such as maybe a caster, or if you don't have some of the previous carry arcs that I recommended, this could go on them just to make sure that they're staying alive and surviving. It's really, really hard for your opponent's defense team to take that particular unit down, and therefore you're going to stay on the board longer to be able to keep doing damage. Ghost Teammate. This provides a few bonuses. The first is to grant a stat buff that nobody really cares about. Next is that Dark Magic has a chance to curse enemies. The Curse ailment prevents afflicted units from using skills, which skills are the bulk of damage in Arena, as I've mentioned before. You can imagine this to be a huge nerf to the incoming damage onslaught. But even if you're not running a Dark Caster, this is still worthwhile to put on just for Spirit Rot. So Spirit Rot halves all healing. This affects anything from passive regens, the Proud Force, God Heal, pretty much anything that you could think of. Perhaps you've run into people before that are just spamming God Heal, and if you don't know, it time stops, it heals, and it's really obnoxious, usually just capping people to full even if they were on the brink of death. It's awful. Well, this is going to cut it in half. So this means for that first 40 seconds of those units being alive, all the effort of healing them is heavily hindered, meaning your effort to climb that kill mountain falls significantly lower. They have to go through twice as much MP or just simply not get much of an effect out of the actual damage they're dealing to be able to heal back, meaning you can confirm your kill much easier than you normally could. Now on to skills. It's worth noting that if any of your favorite or built units come with some of these skills, they automatically have some arena potential. It may not mean that they're the absolute best, but they've certainly got a leg up because they have some tools that can help you to survive at least with less investment required than some of your others. So that's always great. God Heal. I just brought this up when talking about Ghost Hime. God Heal exists. It's very, very good. I see many people even splash it on their DPS units or their casters or just a whole bunch of different things in order to mitigate some extra damage in the middle of a fight and just make it, again, harder to climb that mountain and confirm a kill. Plus, there's some units that maybe just aren't using MP because they're not casting spells, and maybe you don't have something like Sharp Eyes on them to eat MP. Well, everybody naturally is getting MP anyway, so why not use it somewhere? So you could spend 8 points, splash it onto a unit, and that could help you to survive a little bit more. If you have somebody dedicated to it, such as Emtheria, it's even better because, well, she's just busted. And I'm not going to get into her because it's not that relevant, other than the fact that she's hard to fight against. So if you see somebody with her, maybe don't fight her right away. Yeah, we'll get into ways that you can counter Emtheria in another video, but yeah, just don't do it if you're new. God Heal costs 8 SC and can be learned from Cloudia the Great and Galliano Falls. Skill charge 1, 2, and 3, as well as Quick Trigger. Skill charges cost you 3 SC and grant the given skill slot plus 20 SCT. So we talked about before, that's the amount of time that you would have to exist on the field in order to charge X amount of your skill. Okay, so stacking 3 of these plus Abandoned City in the Sea means that you get to start out a fight with 35 seconds worth of skills. That's a lot of damage. Oh man, not going to do that again. Quick Trigger is similar, except it costs 6 SC, and instead it gives you 1 full charge of a single skill at random. So if this happens to randomly hit your S1, it's generally worse than just skill 1, as it doesn't take that long to charge it up, and it maybe granted you roughly 5 SC, 10 SC maybe, or SCT rather. But if it happens to hit your S2 or S3, and those skills normally take a long time to cool down, it could just be significant value. The skill charges stack on top of it. So say your S3 takes 40 SCT to charge, and you can hold 2 charges of it. Well, if Quick Trigger hits it, you get the full stock, which is worth, 40 SCT. Awesome. And then Skill Charge comes in and fills up the second gauge by another 20 SCT, so you're halfway towards your next skill usage as well. Those stack on top of each other, which is fantastic. If you can only hold 1 charge of something and you're running Quick Trigger, I would suggest maybe not running Skill Charge on that particular skill, because it could flat out be wasted if Quick Trigger hits it. So just something to think about. Skill Charge 1 can be learned from Terror of the Grana Seas or Rebel Dragoons. Skill Charge 2 can be learned from Kaladina the Great, as well as Unchained Beast. Skill Charge 3 can be learned from Bell Tower of Guidance, as well as from Zero. You probably won't have this one, it was very, very limited. Quick Trigger is present on Imperator El Dravana. And Wishes on a Holy Night. Awaken. The first time your HP hits 30% or less, you heal significantly, usually to full, and then you gain plus 50 to strength, defense, and mind. And you get a plus 2 to your movement speed, so you get to zip around the battlefield even quicker. This is similar to the effect that Kaladina gives you, in the sense that it's kind of a get-out-of-jail-free card, unless they manage to take you from full to dead, and you never land in 30%, which is not that incredibly likely. But this is kind of just better because of the massive stat boost that you also get from it. Awaken costs 9 SC and can be acquired from the Ark Phoenix Blow. Now, onto a specific type of unit that will help you get a leg up. Casters. Now, the fortunate piece is almost anyone can be a decent caster with the proper setup, as the goal isn't really to do damage. It's a lot more so for your physical units, as we've talked about quite a few times at this point, but rather your caster is supposed to provide some crowd control. I will make mages a singular topic of a Surviving Arena video in the future, because there's a whole lot to unpack there. But today I'd like to simply just say, hey, use a caster. I said that first 10 seconds could really set a tone, but once the pirate ship effect has worn off, there's still going to be more of the fight. So after the 10 seconds, you want to be disrupting your opponent's potential damage output and allowing your units to be able to get some smacks in. So this can come in many forms. You want to try to get your caster to as close to max cast speed as you possibly can, and preferably use one of the following standout spells: Blizzard, Lightning Gauge, Dark Matter, Venomous Rainfall, Poison Cloud, Meteor Rain, or Tornado Storm. Some of these are more effective than others, but you can definitely go ahead and use whatever you have available to you. It's probably going to be better than having nothing. The main focus that I would say is if you can get a unit using Blizzard, it's probably the most meta right now, because not only does it flinch, but it also knocks enemies up at the end, giving your caster an extra second in order to hopefully cast another Blizzard before their team is able to react. Lastly, let's talk about equipment. This is going to be a much shorter list, as there's a lot of things that are good, but I simply want to note some of the standouts that I think can really have an impact, more so than some of the others. For my own sanity's sake, I won't be listing sources for all of these. You can go ahead and go to Last Cloudia Goldmine. I'll put a link in the description below, and you can easily find all that information and so much more. It's an amazing website. Go show Lake some love. He's the guy that made it. He's great. First off, the cast package. This is going to be Cultist Pendant as well as Radstone. I just mentioned using a caster. Well, if you are using them, you should be giving them these. Cultist Pendant reduces your cast speed by 30%, Radstone by another 30. Your unit, you should have high level magic chant on, which is going to cost you 9 SC and will do an extra 20. So literally any unit in the game can easily hit 70% cast time, which is good enough to compete in Arena. Some people will be able to outpace you sometimes, but you should be good to go. And if you happen to have a unit whose kit came with auto recast or fast recast, congrats. That's an extra 30% getting you all the way to 100, and you should absolutely be using them. 100%, they should be your caster, without a doubt. Next is Holy Water. I mentioned Curse can kill the damage output of your physical damage dealers by preventing you from using your skills. Holy Water grants a unit a whopping +4 to Curse. This means if you have a unit that's innately weak to Curse, you can give them a +3 instead, meaning that even if an opponent is using a Null Mouth or V in order to reduce your resistances by 1, you're still going to be Curse nil, meaning you're completely immune to that effect altogether. It is absolutely fantastic. Stonebird. This little guy grants you immunity to fainting. Now, fainting is a mechanic that's basically a hidden threshold on every unit in this game, friend or foe. Your sources of damage have regular damage as well as a hidden feint damage that is associated with it. Skills like Head Bash and certain weapons can increase what that feint damage actually is, just hidden in the background. Once you hit a particular feint threshold, you will get stars around your head and not be able to function for a few seconds while you recover. This is even worse than something like stun, as it cannot be cured. It's not an actual ailment. It just needs to kind of run its course. Well, this bird not only gives you some nice stats, but also immunity to flinch. Your main DPS really wants this, just like they probably want to have Holy Water. If you have it, use it. The only exception to this is if you're one of the few lucky people with Maiden Theria, as she has a passive that just makes your whole team immune to feint, rendering this kind of redundant. But the rest of you, 100%, you should be using this on someone. Whether it's your main DPS or somebody else, use it so they can't feint. Last on our list is Speed Shoes. This is a little bit more situational, but it does two really important things in my opinion. One, it gives a +1 to stun, which is great. It's easily the best ailment resist that you want to get rid of because every unit suffers from stun. So if you can get anything tagged onto there, that's always great. Two, it gives you +2 to movement speed. If you're a unit that can fly very quickly across the screen with your skills or whatever means you may have, maybe you have a natural movement speed that's super duper high, it won't matter quite as much. But if you need to walk over slowly to go get your attacks to land, or you need to line up vertically to hit range shots, this could cut your movement time in half or even more. The less time you spend moving, the more time you are having helping your team. So an extra second or two of repositioning, that could just be game over, just all out. That could be totally detrimental. So these can help with that, while also providing some int if you happen to put it on somebody who needs that for some of their damage, and helping with the most valuable ailment resist. An honorable mention that I'd like to point out is something that helps you in that first 10-second window. I told you it really sets the tone for a fight, and this carbon fiber shield, you have not only a chance to block and potentially mitigate a little bit of damage, but also at the battle start, you apply defense plus 35% to yourself. So if you have somebody that you're already building reasonably tanky with a lot of defense, this 35% is massive, and it almost certainly means that that unit will be surviving that initial 10-second onslaught. So I just wanted to point that out. This was a limited item, so I think you needed to participate during Dr. Stone in order to have this, but it's an absolutely fantastic item, so put it on somebody if you need them to survive. Alright, well I think that's going to wrap up our first episode of Surviving Arena. If you can think of anything that I missed, please share with the class in the comments below. If you like what I do and the content I make, you can support me by spreading the good word about Last Cloudia. Get your friends, relatives, and pets all playing this awesome game because it really is fantastic, and the more people we have, the stronger our community is going to grow and the more support we can get to keep encouraging the devs to make it better and better for us. Unless, of course, your relatives and friends are assholes, then just go tell them to play Raid Shadow Legends or AFK Arena, some stupid shit like that. I also have a Discord that I've been slowly but surely building up with cool people and various knowledge resources, so the link to that will be down in the description below, so if you want to join, feel free to come in, say hi. I'd also like to start doing some account reviews or maybe guidance videos that kind of help people if they don't know where they should be going to kind of progress from the state that they're in the game. So if anybody's interested in that sort of thing, hit me up on Discord. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you learned something, and good luck surviving Arena. Go forth and murder things. Bah!